Dead's on deck with evil dead chick. What's in store when you open the door? Step inside, my little ones. Bring your flashlight and good luck charms. Oh, and good luck charms. Oh, might get dark. It might get scary. Maybe even a little insane. Crawl out from under the bed. Don't be afraid. Evil Dead Chick is here to entertain and thrill. Dead's on deck with Evil Dead Chick. Let's hang out till the sun comes up. Watching movies, Evil Dead Chick, and the gang, funny, strange, hysterical, or just plain bad. This weekend just got amazing. It's a watch-along weekend. Horror and sci-fi, comedy and more. We got it all this weekend. This weekend just got amazing. It's a watch-along weekend. Horror and sci-fi, comedy and more. We got it all this weekend.
Hey, gang, and welcome to yet another watch along weekend. We are going to be watching City of the Living Dead, aka The Gates of Hell, the Lucio Fulci gore classic, here in just a few minutes. Apologies that I was late, but I was late, getting me something to eat, and I'm going to be showing off some stuff that I got busy doing. In fact, I have one of those on right now. Wanted to do a little advertising for my shop and to stress the fact that I do custom work. So if you're not a horror fan, hey, I can still do some designs for you. But we're going to get to that, and we're going to get it to the movie here in just a little bit. I have a couple of links in the chat for you folks tonight. One is where you can watch City of the Living Dead on YouTube, should you not have a copy of it that you own and you want to watch this. And Reggie just came back here, so pardon me just one second. He apparently has got to go outside. Sorry about that, folks. But when you got 5 dogs in the house, that's going to happen from time to time. Okay, so the second link is in case anybody wants to join me live on this stream. I'm going to try this again, and I'm not going to go into detail about things or anything like that. Just, if you want to come on here, fantastic. But just keep in mind that if I don't know who you are and you don't explain to me who you are, if I don't already know you, chances are I'm not going to add you because, I just don't know. I don't know what somebody's going to do if I get them on here live unless I know them or know something about them. All right. So, just wanted to put that out there that I am trying that again, but I just, I don't want anybody to get angry if I don't just, snap and add you when I don't know anything about you. Now, if you can put in the chat, something about yourself, um, you know, you don't have to get real personal or anything, but just something that lets me know a little bit about you. Now, if it's people I know and that have been on here with me before, I don't have a problem to snap, I see you backstage, I will add you. Okay. So I just wanted to put that out there. Um, Now we're going to get some housekeeping stuff out of the way, including talking about a few designs that I just put on t-shirts today. Um, and I just was trying to, again, put myself out there, and try to get people excited and interested in deadites.com, my horror shop. Tell them Poe sent you, of course. And if you can remember the name of my YouTube channel, which is Deadites on Deck, you can surely remember deaditesondeck.com. Okay. So, in fact, I will put it in the chat for y'all. Now, I know Steve tells me that people like clickable links. Well, I've done the clickable links thing and that didn't really drive more traffic. So I'm just trying to, I guess, pound it into people's brain, and pound into people's brain the fact that I do custom work. I'm reasonably priced. If you're needing a logo, for instance, for your new business, or you got a friend or family member that started a new business, or it's a side business or whatever, and you want a certain type of logo. Hey, I have a form on the homepage of the shop site. You can fill it out, send it to me. Tell me what it is you so desire. If you are a horror fan and you don't see a design that you like, let me know what it is that you so desire in that respect. The only two things I won't do are pornography and anything that is illegal. Okay. I'm not going to make you a logo saying I sell drugs or something like that. I know that's over exaggerated, folks, but those are two things that I just will not do. But anything else, I'm pretty much open to. Okay. So hit me up on the homepage of the site, deaditesondeck.com. If you don't find what you're looking for, or you're not interested in horror, but you want to, put a logo for a business, or you and your significant other on your last vacation, you had a really good picture taken, you want to put it on a shirt or a hat or tote bag or whatever. And or you want to put your kids, your grandkids, your pets, whatever. I can even do pet memorial shirts. I know people probably don't want to talk about that, but you know, uh, to show a tribute to your particular pet who's no longer with you. Okay, so let's show off a few of these things that I did today. One of these I have on, folks. This is the Lethal Ladies Inc. Lethal Ladies Inc. logo, the new logo. So take a gander at that. And I also made Candace one, but I don't have it out here. Okay, so this next one I just came up with off the top of my head. Did have Deadites on Deck horror shop on there, but I put Love Evil Dead Chick. Yes, this is a more beautiful version of me. I know that. But I thought it was pretty cool. So I did this one today. Um, and this has got Poe on it. It's Deadites on Deck horror shop. And this one I did for my dear old dad. He has a antiques and collectibles shop, and he goes around selling antiques and collectibles, and it's called Red Barn Antiques and Collectibles. And that's a cartoon facsimile of my dad. on that logo. So I just made this shirt for him today, and then I got started, and I was making all kinds of shirts. Hey, Gory Tiger. So, go on over to the site at deaditesondeck.com and check it out, folks. So let's get a few other things out of the way, and I'm going to take Ned's knees back in. Sorry, folks. You don't want to say hello to everybody, Renee? All right, gang. I am back again. Hopefully, I can stay around for a while. Um, but hopefully, I should have a full lineup of programming this week. Monday, of course, will be celluloid trash. Tuesday's going to be another horror fandom. It's a way of life. Hopefully, I'll be able to have Chris join me because this was his idea to do one on horror collecting. Wednesday should be another cannon fodder. Thursday, another they're all messed up. And Friday, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what we will be doing. Whether me and Candace will be doing a Friday Foolish. Just have to, see how the land lays. And so then there won't be any watch-alongs for this coming weekend. However, there will be another Evil Dead Chick Slasher Fest on Friday, August 1st, because you know why? Because I do Evil Dead Chick Slasher Fest the first Friday of every month. And it's going to be bad movie night at the drive-in. So it's going to be drive-in massacre and blood cult, folks. So keep that all in mind for the upcoming week. So even if we don't have Friday Foolish, we'll still have something. Okay. So, I am watching my, where did I get this from? From Scorpion. This is Scorpion Gates of Hell version, which it has two different options. It's the same film. One has the City of the Living Dead title. One has the Gates of Hell title. Okay, and Under the Gates of Hell title is how I first saw this movie. Anyway, so I have it queued up on my end. About 11 seconds in on this Blu-ray, it says Adania Film Medusa Distribuzione National Cinematographica Production. Okay, and I probably just massacred that. But we're going to give everybody about a minute or two that's going to be watching along tonight. And keep in mind, barring it not being like a few seconds before the movie ends or 5 minutes before the movie ends, if you want to come on here live with me and talk about this wonderful gore film, feel free to click on the StreamYard link there in the chat. Also, if you don't own a copy of this movie, you can watch it on YouTube. I also have a link in the chat for that as well as a link to the deaditesondeck.com horror shop. All right. I'm going to give it about another minute or so. And then we're going to go ahead and get started before I lose everybody. And for the most part, the signal strength thing, I don't know if y'all even notice it. I know one night somebody said I was kind of breaking up a little bit. But for the most part, it's been going away now, but it pops up every once in a while, but it doesn't stay very long, which is good. All right. So let's go ahead and let's do the countdown.
love this movie.
See, Poe loves every movie that I do, don't you, Poe? All right, so let's go ahead and do the countdown and we'll get started. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Press play. Okay, just making sure the sound was turned down. I thought I had it on the title that said Gates of Hell, but maybe not. But this is also a movie my parents, and I've told this story before, that my parents saw at a drive-in back in the day when this thing came out. Um, and I remembered for years my dad talking about this movie where there were flying maggots and a guy getting his head drilled, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest horror film ever made. And I didn't even know who Lucio Fulci was at the time. So I just knew that I had to seek this movie out and watch it eventually. So when I got older and was frequenting a lot of the video stores, I found this movie. Big box, I would love to have the big box VHS of Gates of Hell or City of Living Dead. But in particular, I'd like to have it under the Gates of Hell title because, like I said, that is the rental box that I saw under the Gates of Hell title. That's the title my parents saw it under. And many, many moons later, I got to see this at the drive-in. But, and a lot of you have probably heard me tell the story before as well. The print that this drive-in was showing was missing the Bob head drill scene, which will be coming up here in a little while. And I was very disappointed because I wanted to see the Bob head drill scene on the big screen, big, huge drive-in screen. So we saw this very intense looking priest, kind of creepy looking priest, walking around the cemetery. And now we're in New York where they're doing a seance. And there's Catriona McCall there, who I met several years ago, and she was very, very nice. She signed a House by the Cemetery poster that I had, or some artwork. And so now things are going to get extra creepy because what Catriona McCall's character is seeing is in the town of Dunwich. This creepy priest is going to hang himself, which she just did. That was always one of those standout images of the priest, hanging there. And there's going to be, in addition to the Bob head drill scene, there's another scene that in particular I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm seeing this. And some people now would probably say, well, it looks so fake. But that hanging scene doesn't look fake, I don't think. So now, after the priest hanged himself, it apparently, gave the dead license to rise from their graves. So now, unfortunately, Mary appears to be dead here, Catriona McCall's character. That sort of reminds me of some places in downtown Louisville, actually. I always thought that cop standing back there, just like he's just, was always funny. Perhaps Fulci didn't give him very good direction. I don't know. There were some actors and actresses, in particular actresses, that didn't care for Fulci. Um, but then, Catriona McCall said that she didn't really have any, she just didn't pay any attention to him, you know. And Giovanni Lombardo Radice, under the name John Morgan, um, in some copies of this film, um, I interviewed him. God rest his soul. He's no longer with us, but several years ago for my fanzine Blood Type, and he was such a gentleman and was, a very, very good interview subject. And I asked him about many things, and I asked him about Fulci, and he told me he didn't have any problem at all with Fulci. That him and Fulci got along, well. So this cop or detective or whatever is, questioning these people. He's like, "What were you on?" or "What are you on?" And then he yells out, "Where's the stash?" This is, to me, this detective here is kind of, and I think the woman even says you're a comic book version. And I think that is, whether Fulci was going for that, I don't know, but that seems like an accurate description of him. He's a comic book version of what he should be. So she's talking about Dunwich there, the town that horrendously awful things are happening. And there is Giovanni Lombardo Radice there, aka John Morgan, for American audiences. I see we've got 7 people in here. I mean, nobody's really chatting except Gory Tiger. Um, but I want to remind everybody that I do have a link. Well, we dropped down to 4 again. Perhaps they're not interested in what I'm talking about, but I also know that sometimes people have trouble with their internet and different things. And does anybody know? They may not want to say, but are there any blow up dolls that you can just throw on the ground and they self inflate? I mean, I'm sorry to say I don't know anything about these sex dolls. But anyway, like I was saying, if there's anybody that's coming here a little bit later and wants is interested in joining me live on this, I'd love to have someone or more than one person to be on here with me live. Um, I'd like to do these like I used to, where we'd have several people on here talking about the movie, but it is what it is. I know people are busy, with all kinds of different things, but I do have a link there, a StreamYard link, if you are interested in joining me live. And there is the late, great Christopher George. I think he's fantastic in this movie. He's fantastic in everything I've seen him in, pretty much. But I prefer to watch him as a good guy. I've seen him play bad characters too. And Christopher George's character is a journalist who's trying to find out what happened during the seance. And right now, we're going back and forth between Dunwich and New York. And this is Junie's Lounge. Got a lot of beer, I guess. So some weird things are happening in Dunwich. We saw a mirror just crack. And the guy there on the right in the light colored shirt, he's been on a lot of Italian stuff. And he brings up the fact that since Father Thomas hanged himself, Dunwich ain't been the same. And he says it's kind of scary. Well, it's, dude, it's going to get a lot scarier. And they also say that their ancestors were Salem witch burners. There's a big crack in the wall. And so this is Janet Agron, who has also been in a lot of these Italian films. The guy in the light colored shirt, that was Venatini. And I'm thinking that the um, Sandra's, or not Sandra, gosh, what is her name? She's talking to the doctor here. But she's going to see Bob, which is Giovanni Umberto Radice's character. Sandra is Janet Agron's character there. But I think the girl there that's talking about going to see Bob, the I think the little boy that plays her brother is the son of the guy that I was just talking about. Venatino Venatini, his son Luca. Emily, that's her name. So all of a sudden the cat claws her and she throws that poor cat. But so you got the two grave diggers, and one of them is looking at dirty magazines, and these guys are pretty sleazy. I sure wouldn't want these two guys burying me. I always thought this was kind of funny too. That's supposed to be Mary Woodhouse's stone for her grave, and it just looks like they took a headshot of Catriona McCall and put it in there. So Christopher George is trying to explain why he's still hanging around the cemetery. I don't think these dudes care, but there's there's this, it almost seems like a running joke in these early Fulci films, especially. Um, the Beyond has a scene like that where they talk about union hours and they'll just stop what they're doing. It doesn't matter. Like they have Mary's body or her casket partially covered with dirt, and they're like, "Well, it's 5 o'clock. we stop for the day, union hours. Because Christopher George is going to make the comment, hey, you guys aren't going to leave her that way, are you? Now, apparently, she wasn't embalmed because we're going to find out that she is not dead. And they're leaving. He's like, you're not gonna leave her like that, are you? And they say, oh, union hours. And then they say, what does she care? She's not in any hurry, is she? Some of the least sympathetic characters ever. This would, if I wasn't dead, this would kill me. I would just have a heart attack. If I woke up inside a casket and can you imagine the fear? And I'm claustrophobic now anyway. So Christopher George is like, he starts to go away, he starts to follow the grave diggers out of the cemetery, but he hears something. Something just doesn't seem right to him. Thankfully for Mary, the character of Mary. I'm not sure how that was filmed. If Catriona McCall actually had to be inside something or inside a casket, man. Now now he's figured it out. But this is um I mean, I know he's panicking, and that's basically that pickaxe is the only thing that he's got to use. But man, this comes really, really close to her face. You can see where she had scraped her fingernails on the top of that, trying to claw her way out, and you could see the blood on it. So they talk quite a bit about the Book of Enoch in here. So there's the Book of Enoch in this movie. Um, uh, the Beyond has Ebon. They talk about this book that's called Ebon. So Mary is explaining, you know, what she saw during the seance. She talks about a cursed city where the gates of hell have been open. The dead are coming back to life, or they're rising from their tombs. And she says all she knows about it is that it's called Dunwich. Hey, Batman. And so um, Christopher George's character is learning that if they do not get to Dunwich and make sure those gates are closed um, before All Saints Day, theoretically, then it'll be the end of humanity for all time, apparently. So Emily has got a pretty cool car, and like she said earlier, she's looking for Bob. We're also going to discover here shortly that every time the priest, Father Thomas, who hanged himself at the beginning of the movie, appears, something bad happens to someone. Oh, my week was pretty good, Batman. I worked, but other than that, it was fine. How was your week? I always thought that was funny too, that Bob just shoves Emily. Sorry for yelling so much, folks. So apparently, this is the priest, and he is, yeah, there he is, um, smearing, looks like graveyard mud and worms all in Emily's face. So Emily's father, Mr. Robbins, is calling to see if Emily is there. So you can clearly tell that he's worried. Yeah, yeah, Batman. Yeah, Ozzy. I wasn't like a huge Ozzy fan, but I appreciated his music, and I thought he was a great entertainer. And I know that people will miss him. Um, and I'll miss him too. I mean, there was a fair amount of music that he did that I liked. Um, and I didn't watch the Osbournes or anything like that, but he still was a very creative individual and made some memorable music. So he will definitely be missed by a lot of people. And even though I haven't watched I hadn't saw Hulk Hogan wrestle in years. I used to watch him, back in the day when when he was a lot younger. Um, oh, yeah. I mean, I heard a little bit about that dispute you're speaking of, but hopefully that will die down as well. I hope anyway. Um, okay, so here is one of the other big scenes and that's Mikhail Suave right there as this girl's boyfriend. And remember when I said every time Father Thomas shows up, something bad happens to somebody or several somebodies? This is one, other than the Bob head drill scene, this is one of the most fantastically gory scenes in the film. Okay. And if you have not seen this movie before, I don't want to give it away, but let's just watch this, folks. So she sees, Father Thomas, and oh, her eyes are starting to bleed. That's not good. Now, the newer generation might say, well, this is nothing, and that it looks fake here. And, you can tell it's a fake head eventually. But this part here, this girl vomits up her entire intestinal tract here in a little bit. That is that girl. That is that actress. And she's been in other Fulci movies as well. And he usually tortured her. So she was having to hold like animal guts in her mouth for a little bit. Now that is a fake head there. But in the beginning when it was coming out, that was all her. And then of course Mikhail Suave's character gets his brain pulled out. So you got an added bonus there.
My! Ew! I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah. Sometimes that's kind of gruesome for Poe. So now Mary and Christopher George's character are getting ready to go to Dunwich. And if somebody clicks on the StreamYard link to join me live on the stream and I don't notice that you're backstage, just, feel free to let me know, okay? Because sometimes I get into the movie and I just forget to check. And there is Fulci making his cameo as a doctor. Or medical examiner, I guess. And coming up is going to be one of those most hilarious lines from a cop in a movie I think I've ever heard. So they think it was Bob that killed Emily. And the line's coming up here. Good Lord. That kid's gonna fry. Mark my word. I just always find that funny. I'm so sorry. I don't even know what the heck that was there. Looked like a mass of dirt and worms. Looked like that same stuff that the Father Thomas was smearing into Emily's face earlier. Okay, gang, gotta take a bathroom break. So I'm going to take myself out of the stream, but for those of y'all watching along, I will be right back. Continue to watch along, and I'll be back in a minute or two. Okay, gang, I'm back. Um, hey, have Cheetah will view. Batman, you say you won't after August 2nd. You won't be able to join in the watch alongs except in chat because the owner of my Mickey D's is cutting off third shift for good. Oh, sorry about that, Batman. All right. So sorry, gang. I did get me an ice cream cone while I was away. I believe this is Luca Venatini, who is the son of Venatini. That always breaks me up. Yes, it is. It is a drumstick cone. Have Cheetah will view. So John there just saw dead Emily. I believe that's who he saw. Yeah, Emily's back. These people look kind of old to be having a son that young. Of course, this was 1982, also. So, or not 1982, but 1980. I was hoping I didn't miss the Great Bob scene coming up. Apparently, Bob needs to take a bath. I'm not sure why Sandra here is painting a rhinoceros head above what looks to be an ocean. Maybe it's some kind of abstract painting. And have cheetah. I think there is a Meatballs movie that has a ghost in it. I thought there was. Yes, he did have cheetah. Christopher George did do a lot of horror movies like in his career. And keep an eye on that a bit of machinery back there. So Sandra apparently heard some things in her house. She calls Jerry. Jerry's helping her investigate. You're not sure what they're going to find. And apparently, the dead are still rising and coming back to, you know, creep around people's houses. So apparently, that's that old lady that we saw at the funeral home earlier. Mm, I'm not sure if I did or not, Batman. See the art for the Arrow release of Return of the Living Dead. I'll have to check it out. So now we got blood running out of the walls. Hi, Shelby. So this priest in a neighboring town is telling them how to get to Dunwich. Christopher George says, you know, we're looking up a friend. I don't know why that priest acts like he's pissed off about it. And then he sighs and says, Lord help us, and goes back into his church. All right. Now we're coming to another big scene in this film. And this is Ann Ross that they talked about that Bob had tried to molest her, I guess, you know, years ago. Batman, you say, even though I love the movie, I'm getting tired of Return of the Living Dead releases. When can we get a 4K of part two? Good question. Uh oh. This is not going to end well for Bob, folks. And apparently, according to Giovanni, when I interviewed him, this guy did not understand what let's pretend meant, and he was very rough with Giovanni. That drill does not look good at all. Uh-oh. Oh, there it goes.
My! Ew! I wasn't ready for that.
Another scene that Poe wasn't ready for. So when I was talking about when I finally got to see this film at the drive-in, at an actual drive-in, instead of having the Bob head drill scene, which we just saw, if you were watching along, we had this scene where they pull up to, I think, the funeral home, and they show that scene twice. So Mary says this is a tombstone she saw when she was in her trance. So Mary says they got to find Father Thomas's grave and uncover him. So now Jerry has arrived at the cemetery because he's looking for the people from the funeral home. And he's going to meet up with Mary. And I think Christopher George's character is Peter in here. I may be wrong. You know what's funny though? I believe the priest that they were talking to earlier said Father Thomas. And so when Jerry says, you mean Father Thomas? And Mary says, I don't know his name, or we don't know his name. It's like, okay, didn't you just get told? Okay, so now it's coming up another big scene that my dad talked about with the maggots flying in the window. And these are some real maggots, folks. Here it goes. And it has been said about Fulci many, many times that he'd like to torture his actors, especially his actresses. And, you know, Catriona McCall, I think to this day, she didn't say that this was pleasant. It doesn't look pleasant. But she said that, you know, she just kind of laughs it off. For those of y'all that have an aversion to watching somebody vomit on screen, you might want to turn away right now, because there it went. That is, of course, if you're watching along with me. You know, I wouldn't have wanted to have maggots all over my face either. That's nasty. It seems like there's other bugs mixed in there too that are not worms. So now Jerry's gotten a call from John John. That's Emily's brother. And he said that John John told Jerry that Emily just killed their parents. And Emily died 2 days ago. This movie, I will say, and I've said that about several movies, but probably because this is such a fun movie is the reason why it goes so fast. Had it been a boring movie, it would have been a lot longer. But so far, you guys have not voted in a boring movie yet. And I just want to remind y'all that there's a poll up for the next time I do a watch along just for Saturday, folks, because this will be the last Sunday, unless something changes, where I do watch alongs on Saturday and Sunday. Because tomorrow night we're going to have Just One of the Guys will be the movie starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. But I have a poll up now for the next Saturday that I do one, and it's all werewolf films: Silver Bullet, The Howling, and An American Werewolf in London, which by the way is winning in the poll right now. But if you want to make your voice heard, um, and have a say so of which movie is chosen for the next watch along, make sure you get your votes in early. Because we're about in the last quarter of the film at this point. We've got about 24 minutes or so left. Batman, you say you just peeped out the teaser for Silent Night, Deadly Night, and it looks okay so far. I'm still on the fence about it, Batman. But if other people are interested in it, I say go for it. So, Sandra's just bit the dust. Emily got her. I think that's Mikhail Suave's character. I used to think that was the Bob character, but I'm pretty sure that's Mikhail Suave's character back from the dead. Emily's coming after you, John John. He runs right into Jerry there. So now Peter and Mary and Jerry are going to look for Father Thomas's grave, which is not going to turn out to be one single grave. We're going to find out that it's a family crypt of several of the members of the Thomas family. Basically, it's a state of emergency in Dunwich now. And Jerry says, I believe that Father Thomas is buried in the family tomb. And Mary says, guess what? It's All Saints Day. I think that might be Bob right there. I know one thing, I wouldn't want to go in that family tomb. And me being claustrophobic, I definitely wouldn't want to go in it. That appears to be a white rat that they've painted black, if you look real close. Hi, Canada's. Thank you for the for subscribing. I appreciate it. So I guess apparently all those guys at Jeannie's bar have just been taken out by the dead, the living dead. More rats, apparently. And apparently, Sandra has risen from the dead, and she's found her way into the Thomas family tomb as well. So we're down to the final 10 minutes of the movie, and oh, they just took Christopher George out. Sandra did, anyway. And so, not only is it when Father Thomas shows up, apparently the other living dead can make people's eyes bleed. Or apparently, maybe just women's eyes bleed. I don't know. But we know what happened to the last woman when her eyes started bleeding. So, is that going to happen to Mary? Well, hopefully not, because Jerry's just took out Sandra. So these living dead, apparently, you can stab them with stuff, and it prevents them from doing any more harm. So there's a whole bunch of the Thomas family that's apparently coming back to, well, being reanimated or coming back from the dead, whatever way you want to look at it. I will say this for Fulci. He did a great job of filming The Living Dead, I think. We always talk about George Romero, in the United States and stuff, but, for the Italian horror market, I mean, Fulci was great. And there's Father Thomas again. So he's probably going to wreak havoc. And this is kind of when this guy looks at them, he smiles, and it's not a very strong smile, but it's very creepy. It's like a knowing smile. And again, Catriona McCall's eyes, Mary's eyes, are bleeding again. Oh, that's nasty. Again, if you stab them with sharp implements, it destroys them, which is very unlike the Romero zombies or the Romero Living Dead. And then, of course, Father Thomas is going to burn up here. And apparently, all the other corpses are going to get caught on fire too. I think this is pretty cool too, of all the corpses burning, falling apart and stuff. And once they burn up, apparently they disappear as well. Okay, now I'm going to give a little explanation of what I had always heard about this final sequence here. So we see the cops and John walking in the cemetery. And we're going to see that Jerry and Mary are coming out of the Thomas family crypt. And John's saying Mary and Jerry, and he's gonna run towards them. And they look happy here. And then all of a sudden the look changes to one of fear. And you can't really see the cops, and you're not sure, and you hear no, no, and Mary screams again, and then the film breaks apart. Now, the film where it breaks apart or seems to break apart, I had heard that there was damage, I guess, to the negative. And Fulci, being the way Fulci always was, said basically, screw it, we're still going to put this movie out. I don't care if the ending doesn't entirely make sense. I don't care that the negative's damaged. We'll just do this and have her scream at the end, just like there was someone screaming at the beginning of the film. And I guess just let people make their own interpretation of what happened at the end. So I guess it's, you could make whatever ending that you want for this lovely film. But this has always been one of my favorite Fulci films. I love this one. I love The Beyond. I love House by the Cemetery, even though there are people that don't care for House by the Cemetery. In fact, when I was quite a bit younger, in my younger days, and was renting a lot of videos, I was even thinking about renting House by the Cemetery at my local video rental store. And I remember the guy that owned it said that it's a terrible movie. It's an awful movie. Don't rent that one, basically. So, but we have officially reached the end of City of the Living Dead, aka The Gates of Hell. I hope you guys and gals have enjoyed this watch along for this film from 1980, directed by Lucio Fulci. Is definitely a gore film. May not be a gore film by today's standards, but it certainly was a gore film in 1980, and to me, it still is. But it doesn't appear that anybody's really talking in here right now, but I want to thank Canada's. I want to thank Batman, Shelby. Just didn't want to miss anybody. Gory Tiger. I want to thank all of y'all for hanging out in the chat with me this evening as we navigated through City of the Living Dead. I also want to thank those of you that maybe didn't feel comfortable chatting, but you were watching along. I want to thank you guys and gals for that too. And for those of you that maybe couldn't join me live, but you'll watch this on the replay, I want to thank you guys and gals in advance as well. And I guess that is all for me for tonight, or from me for tonight. And as always, I'm off like a dirty shirt. This shirt ain't dirty, but I'm off like one. And I want to remind everybody, as I always do before I get off up here for the night, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Have a fantastic rest of your Saturday, folks. And I'll see everybody next time. And also, don't forget to head on over to deaditesondeck.com so you can get some cool t-shirts or hats or tote bags or what have you. Just like this one that I made for my dad's business. You don't have to get horror stuff. Remember, folks, I do custom work. Just fill out the form on the home pages of the site at deaditesondeck.com. And I'm out of here, folks. I'll see everybody next time.